start.
Thank you. Yes, that's right. Thanks. Sorry about that. Hello, everybody watching on YouTube, which I'm sure is a lot of people. And so today we're doing chapter 4 of DuckDB in action. It's going to be a little bit more of a casual kind of read through of this chapter, but it's a great chapter and has a lot of good kind of more advanced SQL tips. Okay, so uh, I am just going to kind of go through it in order. So I think, the thing I would be more interested. So this first section is about aggregating data while ingesting. So instead of loading, and so this is something that you cannot do. Certainly not in like pandas or dplyr or something like that. I don't think. Maybe like I think maybe polars can do it in Python. I don't know if there's an R sort of data frame library that can do this, but so the idea is instead of loading all the data into memory and then doing your aggregation and therefore having like a stage of your analysis where you have like a big part of your memory eaten up, you can kind of do it. And I honestly don't know how DuckDB does it, but it seems like it kind of like streams it or something. I don't know. So you don't load the whole CSV or whatever into memory. You're kind of loading it in chunks or something, and then you're performing aggregation on those chunks. So it's like a more memory efficient kind of way to, especially do some initial data exploration. I was actually kind of playing. I had to do some like, explore a new data set earlier this week. And it's kind of cool because you can like, see what the first 5 rows of a CSV file are without creating any new objects in your, in your Python environment or your R environment or whatever. So I did find it to be kind of useful. I don't know how useful it is in like, more of like a production pipeline context or something like that, but I did find it to be useful. And it just keeps, it keeps the environment like much cleaner than like sometimes you get where you're like, you like load in a CSV and then you like realize that like the encoding is wrong or whatever. So then you have to delete it and then and so that's no fun. So this is like, I think a little bit more ergonomic kind of way to approach that. And like syntactically, it's like super easy. You just do select from, or I guess in this case, they're not even using select. They just have from. But yeah, so you can just do like, I don't know what this is. It wants me to test my brain. I don't, I'm concerned about maybe I don't want this.
What are you reading this on, by the way?
So this is on
I
the,
just have the PDF.
yeah, I mean, so I did buy the book. And so I got this like ebook
Oh, okay.
version. So I don't, maybe, okay. I mean, so it does have a little quiz in it. I didn't
That's kind of
know.
cool.
Yeah, but so I don't want to be looking at this right now though. Wonder how I can,
I think this is a Manning
oh, I
feature.
see.
Like they do
Okay.
the live book.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That's what the M at the
Um,
top left is.
yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I'll do the quiz to test my knowledge. But yeah, so it's just you could just do like a regular SQL query, but instead of having a table as your kind of reference there, you have the function, read CSV or read Parquet or read JSON or whatever. So yeah, I thought that was pretty. I don't know. That's pretty handy to me, even though it's not, I don't know, that big of a deal. I don't know if anyone has any other feelings about that. I know when I was going through it, I tagged this note that they made about select any value site ID. Oh, look at that little pop-up there. Um, so I guess, and so this is maybe like a running theme in this chapter is uh, aggregations that uh, give you 1 row per group and aggregations that don't change the number of rows. Um, and so in this case, we have just the kind of standard group by style aggregation. And so, well, is that right? From this any value? Oh, no, sorry. I'm mis remembered what this was. Yeah, so this is, I guess, just like this file contains a bunch of identical site IDs, and so they only want one per time bucket, I guess. I don't know why I flagged that, but just to keep maybe that function in mind as potentially handy. So I didn't take as many, summarization, I think I didn't take as many notes on. It's like fairly, it's nice and it's handy, but I didn't see anything like super interesting or like intriguing about it. It has this very nice summarize command. And in fact, you can even call it like, you can combine summarize with like the read, without loading your data into memory, and then you can get this nice summary without creating any objects in your environment, which I think is kind of nice. Here you see this trick that we learned in chapter 1 where you can modify the output style of the CLI. So yeah, I don't think there's a ton there either. Subqueries, I think, maybe I can't remember if we had them in chapter 3. I think maybe some of the SQL expressions in chapter 3 had them, but maybe they just didn't, explain the concept. But yeah, I mean, I think they are, again, fairly simple. And so like in this first one, and so this is like a common pattern, I guess, where you want to, I guess select the average per, so the grouping level of system. So they just want the per system, like the group level average for each system. And so to do that, I guess they have to take the, excuse me, sorry. They want the average, yeah, no, that's right. Sum per system. And so they take the group level sum of every for every system, and then they average them together. Yep, that's right. Okay. Yep. So yeah. So
Yeah, the only point I wanted to make about that one was it feels
yep.
very backwards to a dplyr
Yeah.
pipeline.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like you've got to do the last select that would be in dplyr first because it
Yeah.
needs to like contextualize what you're selecting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I don't know. I don't know if anyone prefers this SQL style like of ordering. It reminds me a little bit more of like the base R style of ordering, maybe where you have kind of the outermost transformation is usually the last one in the chain. It's not, not quite the same, but it's analogous. But yeah, I think in general, like having the select from logic at the top kind of always feels a little backwards to me. But yeah, here it feels especially backwards because you're like, what? Yeah.
And where that
So
might be critical is at some point I'm going to go through and just convert this to the duckplyr
mm-hmm.
syntax, and like I'm guessing that transfers it back to the usual ordering for dplyr.
Yeah, I don't know. I have used duckplyr and like especially for things that are simple like this, it does like there are no like bumps in the road. I think sometimes when you do like use some of the more niche dplyr functions, it will it won't have a translation. So back to DuckDB. But yeah, I think for this you could just use the regular. But do you think the SQL generated by duckplyr would be in the same
That's what I want to
order?
have a look at. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, that would be interesting. Yeah. So okay. Because you could maybe maybe you could do like a CTE or something up top. I don't know. Like if you really wanted the from state the logic in that from statement to come first, I guess there are ways you could do that. Yeah, so I actually don't know. That's a good question. Yeah. Okay. There is this kind of like discussion of correlated versus uncorrelated subqueries. So I guess a correlated subquery is one that has like a dependence on the outside query. So basically, like if it references that query, then it is correlated. I think the practical takeaway is not huge. It sounds like basically DuckDB is, and they have this little like aside down here somewhere, like, oh, basically like DuckDB translates correlated subqueries into uncorrelated subqueries. So it seems like it's not something we hugely need to worry about unless we're writing unless we're doing DuckDB SQL that we then want to move into another SQL environment where maybe that support is lacking. So yeah, I guess maybe that's just like something to keep in mind is like, oh, well, like I guess if I have any correlated subqueries in my DuckDB stuff, it might not work on, whatever big SQL data warehouse I'm running the query on next. Yeah, I mean, this argmin function is, yeah, I don't know, maybe just a nice little tool to have, but oops, cool. But yeah, so basically, like if you, where's the example? Oh, they don't have an example, I guess, they just wanted to know that it's the better way to do this, basically. So you can, argmin, I guess, will give you the, like essentially the row that contains the, minimum or maximum for that variable. And so I think that will return like a scalar, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, so this is this kind of like discussion of correlated versus uncorrelated, and also scalar versus tabular, I guess, queries. But yeah, so I guess the idea is just to be conscientious of whether or not a function returns, a scalar value or a tabular value. I do find myself, I don't know like other SQL dialects that well, but I do sometimes find it a little bit weird to switch back and forth between this like query execution engine style of thinking and this like function style of thinking, where it's like, in one kind of line of thinking, I'm just thinking like, okay, I just need to like put the query keywords in the right order. But then, functions, suddenly I'm thinking about like, okay, like what data type gets returned and stuff like that. And I sometimes have a little bit of a hard time switching back and forth between those. I don't know if anyone else has had that issue with SQL, but I found it a little challenging. Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting aside that you could write a subquery as a join. I mean, I don't know. Do I think that's more readable? Um, I don't know. I don't know that I have a strong opinion about that. I think the logic maybe is a little bit more clear to me in the join case. I guess anyone who, does a lot of joins. So like, I guess I'm going to try to kind of pull this apart a little bit. So up here, um, we have a subquery because we have this inner query where we're referencing r1.system ID. So we're taking all the readings from our whatever table. We want just the highest readings where a system is in both tables. What? But they're the same table. I don't know why. Because readings is R1 and R2. Seems strange to me. System read on power word. So, I don't know, maybe that's elliptical. But so in this case, I wonder if I can reason it out from the join case. We're joining R2, which again is the same table. So you're selecting the max value from the table and then joining it to Yeah, I mean, actually think that makes more sense to me. So I think what's coming out is, yeah, I guess is this. Um, although we're not here, we don't see the max column. Uh, yeah, I don't know, but I think the idea is you basically want a max value for every row in the set, and I think that this, I don't know, to me this makes a little bit more sense, but maybe it's just because my SQL syntax isn't that good. But yeah, I have to admit I don't really understand why you can't do this without a subquery. Perhaps I'll leave that as an exercise to us readers. Uh, and so yeah, I don't know. So
I think
here's
it's because it can only look at one row at a time.
okay, yeah,
So the max, it can't find the max without looking at all the rows.
okay, yeah, okay. So okay, that makes sense. So it looks at all the rows, and then it has the like indices, so to speak, for the for the maxes, and then you could put that back in. Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. So if you're just going row by row by row, you can't do the max. You have to look at the whole table first. Okay, that's helpful to me. Um, okay, so I think these are just like kind of helpful logical operators. I don't know if let me catch up in my notes here. Yeah, I don't see yeah, I don't know anything like I think these kind of mirror the function of logical operators that we might have, that we're probably used to in other contexts. Yeah. Um, okay, so grouping stats, I would say, this is maybe where things start to get more exciting for me, I guess. Um, so this is not, I don't know if, I guess the function that I'm most from, I mean, I'm trying to think what I would use to do this in R. But so the cool thing about grouping sets is that you can create like what they call a roll up. Um, and so, yeah, here we go. Um, and so and this is like the kind of table that like I feel like data analytics people don't really ever want to have or care about, but that like kind of like business people maybe like to consume. And so this would be a table where you have like a row for your group level, or say top level, totals or whatever, and then you have a row for one group level total. And I don't know, maybe they have an example down here. But yeah, you can see like here's like the top level total. Here is I think this is supposed to be for 20. Oh, I see. This is for the system across all years. Um, this is for the system for each system in 2019, and then with a top level total for 2019, and like so on and so forth. So like, I feel like I don't ever really want that because I just like type, you just type in a query instead to find that out. But I feel like sometimes people want tables formatted in this way, and I didn't really have a good way to do that in R. I don't know if anyone else has ever uh, encountered that, but yeah, I mean, this is, kind of
So
handy.
in a
Oh,
table, you can add the totals with, gonna forget what it's called. Is it margin? Um,
like, is it
Maybe I'm
like
making
the
it up.
table, like the data class table, or like the, uh,
Yeah,
I have to admit, I almost never use those. Those are like a base R function, or
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Table is fantastic, but you can do the summary across either dimension. And then there's add-on packages that'll do
okay.
like other summaries like that.
I have used Great Tables or GT a little bit. I don't know if it could do that, but I know it could, can format tables. That's like what it's for. But I don't know if it has that. But yeah, okay. So maybe I just wasn't looking in the right place. But yeah, so this is how you would produce something like this. They have this. So the roll up is a one. Uh, let's see. Roll up is if you have one grouping level, I believe, or one like factor, or however you want to think about it. If you have two factors and you want like the cross classifications, I guess, for each factor. So like say you have like, cats and dogs and boy and girl, and you want like boy cats and boy dogs and like girl dogs, you want like all the cross classifications. You can use this group by cube, which will produce the sort of combinations of each grouping factor. I guess maybe I shouldn't say factor because that is kind of an R term. Okay, so window functions. And again, this is something I don't know, and maybe I just don't know how to do it. I've sometimes struggled with in dplyr. It's like I think I know dplyr has like lag and lead functions, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think it has this comprehensive kind of way to deal with this like window concept as DuckDB or maybe SQL in general. And so, well, let me look at my notes for the window functions. And so the window functions, kind of have they're like have a couple facets. I'm trying to think about how to launch into this. So I would say that you use a window function when you want to look. So this is like where the metaphor of a window comes in. You're in one row, so to speak, and you want to look through like the window into another row or another table or some other subset of the data and use that to inform the calculation that you're making in the row that you're sort of currently in. And the window can move as you move from row to row. So you can make calculations that depend on the values of the row that you're in, but based on other values in the table. And so there's a few. I would say there's like kind of like a base window function that uses this oververb. There's like a window function that uses partitions. And so partitions are like independent chunks that you're breaking your, maybe they're like window panes, I don't know, into before you're kind of doing your analysis. And frames are these sort of, they're like they're relative to position. So like I don't know. I feel like frames is maybe not a great metaphor, but like lag and lead I think would be like classic frames, or like if you you have you're at row say the row is a year and it's 1999 and you want to look at both 1998 and 2000, you can use kind of a lag and a lead to look at the kind of two adjacent rows, and so that would be a frame. So yeah, let's look at the examples. And so I don't know. I would say of this chapter, the window functions were the things that got me the most excited. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but
No, I'm not so familiar with having to do lots of these. I just haven't had to do them.
yeah.
But one, I guess, comparison that I like for it, and
hmm
this is a language that I know not many people use, but in APL, when you want to do a sum, one of the like most important things is it's just a reduction. Like it's a reduction where you like put the plus sign between elements of the vector and you make a sum. And one of the things that's always had is that you can give it a left argument of how big that window is. So if you wanted to sum pairwise, you could just put a 2 on the left. And I think that concept doesn't come through in at least R very often of I want to take things 2 at a time or 3 at a time and do this binary operation on them. But that's
Yeah.
exactly what some of this is. So not
hmm
quite the lead and lag. I think that is a
Yeah.
different concept. But the window of I want to take 3 values at a time and
Yep.
calculate the sum. Yeah. I'm surprised
Yeah.
it doesn't show up more often.
Yeah, and I guess one of the simple applications of this is just like a rolling average or whatever. Um, is which one of these examples is the rolling average? I think
So yeah, for rolling stuff, I'd use the zoo package.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Um, is this or is this rolling average? No. I guess the rolling average would be under framing. And so, yeah, I mean, sorry, now I'm skipping around. But this is, I think, what Jonathan was kind of just describing, where if you want to have, um, a frame that moves as where I guess it should be vertical as you move down the rows, or, I actually, if you want to do chunks like you described, like every three, I don't know if you would do that with framing. Maybe that is more like a partition. But yeah, in any case, this would be, I think this is the moving average. Uh, am I right about that?
I guess is that the difference between a moving average and a rolling average? Like, is it
I I think
successive
of
7 day
I think of them
blocks?
as I think of them as
Those
the same,
days differ
but
by 1 day.
yeah. I think of them as the same. So like so yeah, I think of this as a rolling average, I guess is what I would call it. But um I don't know if that's right.
But
But
then I guess time bucket is the successive 7 day windows.
yeah.
And they've got a whole bunch on time bucketing.
Yeah, I mean I remember that in the ingestion part. Do they have um yeah, but so yeah. Um yeah, I'm not sure what to say about partitions either. I do think there is this idea of like a partition, you're breaking it up into independent chunks. I think and the grouping doesn't change based on the identity of the row. Um, Framing, it does change based on the identity of the row. I think that's basically the difference. Um, yeah. Um, and so, like you can name them and that's I guess seems kind of trivial. But maybe you could, I'm not sure if you could use that to recreate some dplyr style, kind of, but the idea is you can play a little bit with the order that you want to write this stuff in. So here they are kind of defining, I guess this is actually kind of the opposite of dplyr. They're kind of defining uh, this window towards the bottom. Um, but yeah, so here they have this like relatively complex query that they have inserted up here. So every yeah, and so I guess this is actually a window nested in a window, right? Like, is that right? Yeah. Uh, which is kind of interesting. So they have the max over 7 days, and then 7 days uh, is a partition. Uh, oh, so it's a frame and a partition. It's a partition and a frame. So it's by system, partition and frame. So this range between I think is the frame. Uh, is one of the ways that you can sort of call a frame. So and then it has this 3 day 3 days before and 3 days after the row. So they're blah, 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 blah. So what are they producing here? I don't know, but this one might be worth studying here. So let's see. They have 7 day max. Why do they need two window functions? I guess maybe one to take the max.
What's the two?
Yeah.
There's the interval 3 days
Uh,
before and 3 days after.
and then, so I think this is also a window, and I guess I shouldn't say function, but a window, I don't know, query. Is that right? Yeah, over is the uh, kind of keyword for just like the basic window. And so they have, yep, they have this over, I guess both of these, both the max and min have an over definition. So yeah, I guess per system we have sorry, I feel silly for stumbling through this. So for every system,
So I think
we
from the top, it's for each system and day. It's the min, quartile, and max over those 7 days.
yep. Okay, yep, that's right. Okay, yep. So that's why. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I guess I don't know what the takeaway is there, but I might study this and see if I really understand it. But yeah, you can you could use this like the point they're making is you could make a box plot if you wanted a box and whisker plot with just these window functions. I don't know
I
how.
think potentially calculating the rolling quantiles might be tricky in R. Like might not already
Mm-hmm.
be set up. So I wonder, yeah, how hard that would be to code. Like it's definitely not
Yeah,
impossible, but
yeah, it's
I
definitely not.
think it
Yeah,
might
yeah,
take some fiddling.
yeah. I mean, yeah. There's definitely I don't think an off-the-shelf function for it. Although it's not that this is like the simplest. I mean, it's not super complicated, but I wouldn't say it's like uh I wouldn't say this is like an off-the-shelf function either. But yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question. How hard would this be to accomplish in dplyr or base R or whatever? Um, uh, do I have? And so I think this is the section about lags and leads. Yeah, preceding or following rows. So I guess even within a partition, you can do that. Is there anything interesting about that? I don't know. But yeah, maybe the takeaway from this section is the use of the lag and lead function. Although I believe you could use these. I wonder if those require partitions or if you could use them. And I'll look it up. Uh, yeah, you can use those without outside of a partition as well. So I guess they're just kind of using it to make a point that it's you can kind of have these uh, frames within partitions as well as outside them. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, so this is a helpful table. And so like I found like window functions to be both like syntactically and conceptually maybe a little bit more complicated. And then I think we get like maybe we're moving back towards like simpler stuff now. So this is basically the distinction between these three things is basically about whether you want to apply some kind of like filter to your results before a grouped aggregation or afterwards, or qualify from within a window function. And so I think the most common one that we would use is just using the having clause. So by contrast to the where clause, which operates on the pre, am I right about that? Yeah, where clause operates on the data before grouping and aggregation. Having operates on the data after grouping and aggregation. So if you do an aggregation and you want to have like only whatever systems that produce more than 900 kilowatts on average, then you would go down here. Or aggregate, yeah, whatever, sum in total, or whatever your aggregation function is. So I don't know. That's just like a. I mean, I wonder. I'm trying to think if I have anything smart to say about it. I don't know. It feels a little unnatural to me that where. Well, no, I guess the order is right. Like where comes before group, having comes after group. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I have nothing to say about that. So I don't know. Qualify. We're back in the world of window functions, so it gets a little bit more complicated. And so here, I guess we're kind of fighting a little bit against like the kind of query planning engine or whatever, but both having definitely operates before, or excuse me, after window functions. So like all the any aggregation is going to happen after the kind of application of the window function, except for a partition, I guess, which would be inside. But here, we have the this result. So again, this like moving 7-day moving average, and then we're conditioning based on that. So I guess that is I think that will return the same number of rows as are in the original data set, but it will have filtered out, or it will return the same number of rows, and then it will have filtered out any row that was not part of a window where this kilowatt hour 7-day moving average was greater than 170 or 875. So yeah, I mean that's just a little different, and maybe I should go back. So up here, I'm tempted to go back. Yeah, when they introduced window functions, they sorry. Well, they say they used a CTE in one of these, but I don't see that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see that. Okay. So I think that's it for. Oh wait. So yeah, filter filters. uh, let's see, I'm trying to think how to describe it. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is just maybe this is just the best explanation. There are values that you don't want to include in a specific calculation, but you want to include that row in general or that value in general in the data set. So yeah, in this case, they have some sets that, oh, maybe there's some bad readings, they're negative or whatever, and energy can't be negative, although maybe, I don't know, maybe it can be. So we want to leave those in the data set. And I don't know, I guess that's a matter of judgment. But when they do these various like averages and mins and maxes and stuff, uh, they don't want those to be incorporated, and so they use this filter. And so filter gets applied. Um, I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand the syntax myself. So, obviously this is a condition. It
The bracket indenting here is just not helpful. But I
no.
think the filter removes where AC power is null and where it's less than zero. Less than, yeah, less than zero.
Yeah. Is it
Removes
and it's
those,
yep.
and then the coalesce is taking the average, but if you don't have one, use zero.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Coalesce does show up in dplyr. I don't think
Oh,
it's used
I didn't
very
know that.
much.
Okay. I did not know that. Okay, that makes sense. And coalesce, what's the definition? It takes.
I don't know
I
if they
know.
described it here.
Yeah, I remember it is in the chapter, but I can't remember what it does. Oh, yes. Return the first expression that evaluates to a non-null value. So, um, so the first
So in this case,
non-null
if you
average. I see.
don't
Okay. Yeah.
have an average, use zero.
Yeah.
If you do have it, then you've got a
Yeah.
value.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. Okay. So pivoting, I would say, works quite similarly to dplyr.
Tidyr.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yep. Good. Yep. Good point. Yep. It's tidyr. Yeah. I mean, like in tidyr, I think this is true. I think in tidyr, um, when you shift from uh, long to wide, I think you don't have to do, you don't have to calculate uh, the counts for the wide columns or the values for the wide columns and then shift them. It just kind of does it for you. And I think the same is true here. So uh, you don't have to sort of calculate the aggregates and then pivot. It just does it for you because based on the syntax, which is handy. Look at my little pivot notes over here.
I'm also just shuddering at the idea of kilowatts in 2019 being a column name with spaces.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I see columns like that too much. But yeah, yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a worse column name maybe. Unless it had like a strange special character. Um yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have anything smart to say about this, but like the syntax is quite similar. I think probably tidyr took the syntax from SQL originally and now we've come back around. But yeah, so because I think the arguments in the tidyr function are the same.
So I think that is true where you're just transposing like from wide to long.
mm,
Not quite transpose, like you're converting from wide to long.
hmm
But the pivot bit makes me think much more of Excel, which when I
Yeah,
did
the
stuff in
pivot. Yep.
Excel, I used pivot tables all the time.
Yep.
But that aggregation function being part of it, that you want to do that data and take the sum as a pivot.
hmm Is that
That
not, is that true? Is that not true tidyr? I thought that's how tidyr worked. Also, I could be wrong about that.
can you give one of the pivot functions an aggregate function? I thought it was, I don't
I
know.
could be,
I
no, I
haven't
could,
used it that way if it is.
yeah, I could be wrong. Let's see. Tidyr. Uh,
Because that feels more
no, I think you're right.
summarized.
Yeah, I think yeah, I don't, I think you're right. I don't know that you can do that. Um, Let me look. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, maybe you can't do that. So maybe that is like a, that's like a special function that you can obtain. So yeah, I guess the takeaway is you don't have to use this um, the group by argument to the pivot function in SQL, but you can. Um, and that, maybe that's just like a little extra bit of functionality that I'm
But
not
then
sh
that feels much more similar to people who have come from Excel who are
Yep, yep,
building
yep,
like aggregate tables.
yep. Yeah, okay. That makes sense to me. Okay, so yeah, that's a little so the basic functionality is similar, but yeah, we lacks that tidyr doesn't have that function. Yeah, so these as of joins are, pretty handy. I think is it dplyr or tidyr that has the joins? I think it's a dplyr has the
dplyr is
joins.
joins.
And yeah, I think that it function, dplyr has like inequality joins. I think they function quite similarly. Did I take any? Um, yeah, but like quite handy, like especially if you have I think the example they used in this section is a good one where maybe you have um uh like a summary, a data summary or something like that that has relatively wide time periods. And then you're trying to associate rows of data from another, data set with those summaries. You can just use this, you can use dates, inequality joins with date time data types to kind of associate each row with the proper kind of summary row, which I think is what they are trying to do. I'm sure that description didn't make a ton of sense, but yeah, I mean, I think for time especially, I think these are quite handy. These inequality joins. Um, well, I doubt that I'll be able to properly articulate this, but maybe it's a good one to reflect on. This I don't know. I thought it was funny that they covered these table functions. This I almost thought like maybe this should have been like in the first part of chapter 3, since they were so common. Um, but yeah, I mean
So
we.
that the
Oh,
on in this one, I'm still trying to understand
oh,
why it's an on. So distinct on function name. The dplyr syntax would be
hmm,
just distinct function name
yeah, hmm.
that would give you the unique values. So I ran this, it works, but I don't understand. I wouldn't reach for an on here.
What is the DuckDB? What is the syntax for distinct? Is the syntax just is it just it's just distinct, right? It's not distinct on. So yeah, I wonder
So I
what the
thought
on.
a select distinct would, yeah, give you the
Yeah,
unique
yeah,
values.
yeah. Um, hmm, I don't know. Um, a distinct, yeah, yeah. So here on function name. Hmm. I don't know. I'm tempted to ask. A
Yeah, I feel like I should just ask an AI.
large language model. Here's some documentation. Distinct on returns one row per unique value in the set of expressions defined in the on clause. So I guess the set one row for the set of expressions. So I guess is function name a list of functions, and then it's returning one row. So yeah, I don't know why. Did you try it the other way where like I wonder what happens if you just run if you run it without on. Um,
Right, so Claude says distinct on gets one row per function, the first according to order by, but the plain distinct removes duplicate rows.
why would there be more than one row per function? Wouldn't they all? I don't know. I mean, I guess who knows what's in this
Well,
table, but
and that table wouldn't, but another one where you want to
yeah.
distinct things could.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I maybe still don't quite
Yeah. I mean, the output looks
get it.
quite similar to me. If I ran them both, I think they're identical.
It could be
Yeah.
that there is only one function name, like there aren't duplicates in there,
Yeah. I don't know why they would be. Yeah. I
which
don't know.
is
So
then a weird example to
a
use
weird
because
example.
it doesn't
Yeah.
need a distinct, right?
Yeah. I don't think so. I wonder what happens if I just do select function name.
Well, hang on. Right, so something else from Claude. The on specifies which columns determine uniqueness. So dplyr's distinct also says like which columns to ignore or which ones do you want to use. Otherwise, it uses all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
this
So
isn't, it's not select unique. It's
okay.
select specifying that the distinct column is function name.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
I
Um,
still, yeah, that wouldn't feel natural
yeah.
to me yet.
No. Yeah. I will ponder that perhaps. But let's see. So yeah, now we have lateral joins. I don't know. Do I have anything smart to say about this? Yeah, we're almost out of time. Bu- 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 does dplyr have lateral joins? I don't know that I have encountered them before. Um,
I don't think I fully understood this bit, so I'm not sure.
yeah, me neither. I think, I don't know, maybe just something to reflect upon. But I guess it's a way to, uh, I don't know. Well, I guess that's homework for me at least. Okay, sorry. So yeah, sorry I was poorly prepared. I wanted to get this done during my working hours today and ended up having a bunch of meetings. But yeah, so and I actually don't know. I don't know if anyone signed up. Um, if like if we want to, we could do well, let's see. I'll check if anyone signed up, but I don't think anyone is. But yeah, I mean if we want to, we could just like kind of do it a little bit more like this, where like maybe not that anyone has to give a presentation, and just kind of like go through it. And I'm happy to like kind of be the like responsible party for that, I guess. Let's see.
Yeah, if people have read through the section, I'm happy to just like jump through it
Okay,
and go to where
okay,
anyone had questions about it and we can talk through them.
okay. Yeah, yeah, I'll do that. So I'll do, I'll like kind of nominally sign myself up. But yeah, it'll be more polished than this, but not that much more polished than this. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, thanks Jonathan, and thanks Josh for coming to the club and hanging in there, even though I did kind of a bad job. And thank you, YouTube audience. We'll I'll put a stop in